Hello everyone. So another video here from Everyday Oppression. You know how I have kind of cool intros before I actually dive into the film, so I'm going to do something that's very similar to how Pepsi made activist bullshit into a fad, and super cool, a fad. Yes, I'm going to do that with this video and Dusty Boots root beer. Because why not? Sorry about that.
Recently on the internet, there's been a lot of discussion around genital preferences and transphobia. In this video, I'm going to use the word cissexism instead of transphobia, but they're really similar words.
So let's begin. You first introduce a new word called cissexism. Alright, that's really pointless, but let's continue.
At its most basic, cissexism means prejudice or discrimination against transgender people.
Or transphobia. Why do you have to start creating new words? That's the thing about you leftists. You just create new words instead of just sticking with the basics.
So what's been happening is that some people are making the argument that it's not cissexist at all to only be attracted to people with one kind of genitals.
Yeah, it's called preferences. You've already done a video about this, so I feel like this is going to be a repetition of that same video.
For example, these people might argue that being attracted to only women with vaginas in no way negatively affects trans people.
Here's a helpful hint for you. Women only have vaginas.
On the other hand, I would argue that it's more complicated than that. We all have our implicit biases built into our preferences, and gender isn't as simple as just the genitals you have.
No, it's pretty simple. Gender is stemmed from our sex, and our sex is the objectifiable truth of what we are. Just because I'm more effeminate male does not change my gender being man, being male, being masculine. So I have a penis, I was born with a penis, and therefore I am male.
After I say that, I usually get a bunch of blatantly cis-sexist responses. Cissexism means prejudice or discrimination against transgender people.
Of course you're gonna get offended, because you get offended at everything, Riley.
I thought I'd address all of those responses at once. Number one, you're being homophobic. In this argument, I often get accused of homophobia,
Oh, I wonder why.
lesbophobia, or lesbian erasure by lesbians who believe that I'm trying to change their sexual orientation or identity.
Well, you keep fuddling things up in regards to gender and genitalia and sex. You keep making these arguments that are stupid because it's based on subjectivity versus objectivity. People win arguments with facts, with evidence, with hard evidence, and that hard evidence would include the objectivity of one's sex, thus gender. So a lot of it is wishy-washy with you guys.
They say that my language sounds a lot like a dude who tried to turn them straight, or like conversion therapy. Those responses are rooted in cissexism.
Oh, this is gonna be very homophobic towards our lesbian sisters in the LGBT.
This is because I'm not telling lesbians that they can't be lesbians. If you're a woman who only likes women, go ahead, identify as a lesbian. But some women have penises. Some women have penises. Some women have penises.
Who do you fuck with?
Only women have vaginas and only men have penises. This is the objectifiable truth of biology in the human species. Get it through your skull.
If the fact that some lesbians might be attracted to those women offends you, it's because you don't think trans women are real women.
Again with this argument that's saying that everybody around you thinks trans people are not real. We do know you're real, we do know you exist, and we engage with you. The moment that we start engaging with you to talk about your identity crisis and your insecurities, then yes, we are acknowledging your existence. We're not denying it. God.
That's because these accusations of homophobia make it sound like I'm trying to convince lesbians to like men, but I'm not.
I actually think you're trying to do this because you, obviously a male, born a male, and most likely have a penis, you are trying to get it in with women. And I feel like this is your shtick. You are trying to weed your way into sexual relationships with women by proclaiming that you're actually a trans woman and a lesbian yourself. You are clearly a man, buddy, all right? I'm more androgynous than you are, and I don't even wear makeup.
I'm trying to show that preferences for women with vaginas over women with penises, women with penises, women with penises, might be partially informed by the influence of a cis-sexist society. You do not have to like men. You do not have to date men or have sex with men. And if you think that's what I'm arguing, you're simultaneously strawmanning my argument and implying that trans women are men.
Trans women are still men. They are biologically male, and they are transitioning to become a female. Their identity is a female, okay? They see themselves as such, and they are going through the transition, which is usually biological transition, aka sex change, in order to feel more like their perceived gender.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Number 2, you're upholding rape culture.
Newsflash, rape culture does not exist in the West, but you keep trying to force that down our throats.
Honestly, the worst response that I've heard, and probably the most cis-sexist one.
Stop using this term, Riley. It's not gonna catch on.
That is so...
Cis-sexist.
Gretchen, stop trying to make
Sexist.
happen. It's not going to happen.
That's because trans women have a long history of being accused of being rapists by cis women. It's the logic behind bathroom bills that prevent trans women from using the right bathroom.
You know, the whole bathroom business, my easy solution to this is that we have female-only bathrooms for women, we have male-only bathrooms for men, and then we have either unisex or trans bathrooms for the trans community. We are trying to assist this and make it easier for everybody. We need these segregated bathrooms because some people just don't feel comfortable with the opposite sex taking a piss or a poop next to them.
It's why some cis women are terrified of the idea of sharing a locker room with a trans woman.
Yeah, well, you know what? My personal take on this is that they have the right to.
Yes! 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 Yes!
A man is biologically stronger than a woman in general, okay? Obviously, there's some outliers here. But a man, if they wanted to, can overtake a woman in a small enclosed space, such as a bathroom or a bathroom stall. And that is a logical fear, not an irrational fear of most women. I can understand that. Now, I'm not implying that men are just sexual predators or women are victims or weaklings, but this is generally the case. People want to go to the bathroom to do their business. They don't want to have to deal with all this pressure and all this extra baggage on top of their shoulders as they're taking a dump.
This is a very common tactic used by anti-trans folks to discredit trans women as just men trying to invade women's spaces so they can rape them.
No, that's a stupid argument on both sides. Yeah, that's stupid.
If this is not your intention when bringing this up, this is what you are implying, and it is where this argument comes from.
And you totally like to assume everything, don't you?
Suggesting that trans women are rapists for wanting to be fully recognized as women is extremely harmful.
People who are going through an identity crisis, whether it's biological or mental or subjective, these are people, a very small minority, who is making others on edge. Why does the rights of the majority have to cater to that of a very small minority? Why?
Should note that I'm not saying you have to do anything without consent. I'm a big fan of affirmative consent, and you should never feel pressured to have sex with somebody.
Great. You do not have my consent to force me in feeling shame with my preferences. If I like somebody based on their genitalia, I have that right. If straight women like dick, they should like dick. If straight men like pussy, they should eat pussy. If gay women love only vagina, which are women with vaginas, that is their preference, and gay guys can suck as much dick as they want, or the dick of straight men. Whatever your preference.
This isn't about an individual. This is not saying you have to have sex with a trans woman or you're cis-sexist.
Yeah, but you're really coming off as such. This is the whole basis of your video. You are shaming people for their choice and what genitalia they want to play around with.
What the? Hello? You're a funny fella. What's your name?
It's saying that you should examine the societal influences on your preferences.
Brainwashing. Burns.
There's a massive difference between honing in on individual scenarios and considering wider societal issues and attitudes. Number 3, I'm allowed to have my preferences.
Yep, that's it. That's all there is. Everybody's entitled to their preferences. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I can play with whatever genitalia I want, considering that the person that I'm with at the time wants to play with my genitalia as well. You don't get to tell us what we can and cannot do.
Technically, you're right. You're allowed to have your preferences and you don't have to change anything.
There feels like there's gonna be a but here, isn't there?
But there's more to it than that. And ignoring the deeper issues by stopping at a surface level analysis doesn't do this issue any justice.
It's not so much even a surface analysis. The thing is that genitalia is part of our biology, so it is a physical thing, an objectifiable thing that we can hold in our hands, you know, cup the balls, or finger the girl. Like, these are things that are not just surface, they are actually an internal part of the human body, whether you're female or male, okay? For men, it's external. For women, it's internal. These are actual things. You have no argument. You have no argument. Oh my God.
Like, you're allowed to have a lot of things. You're allowed to have prejudice towards trans people, but that doesn't mean you should.
Ooh, but thanks for telling me.
So if we look a little deeper into this issue, there's the possibility of your genital preferences being at least somewhat partially informed by growing up in a cis-sexist society.
I don't know.
There's also the fact that a preference is different than saying you would never do something. Like, having a preference for tall girls is fine, but refusing to date anyone under 5'7" is ridiculous.
Don't want no short man. Eeny weeny, teeny weeny, shriveled little short man. Don't want eeny weeny, teeny weeny, shriveled little short man.
These are all preferences. Yeah, it kind of sucks for a lot of shorter guys when women want taller men, but you know, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Like, keep looking.
And obviously that's not a perfect analogy because short girls as a group don't face the societal marginalization that trans women do.
Did you just compare women's heights with trans rights?
What the hell is wrong with you people?
But I'm interested in having a conversation about labels and implicit bias and trans-inclusive language. Simply saying, it's my preference, end of discussion, is a good way of sidelining all of those issues and instead centering the feelings of cis people in a discussion that's about trans people.
Oh yes, because we all know that the spotlight has to be on the fucking victims, don't we? Everybody's a victim because it's so-and-so. I have an identity crisis. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Nobody really gives a shit, okay? Like, I'm all for individuals empowering themselves and having a strong sense of identity, but you need to understand that not everybody's going to accept you. The world is so big. We have over 7 billion people on this planet. You are not here to please everybody, and I'm not here to make you happy. Riley, get over it.
Number 4, I have a trans friend who says this is okay.
Yeah, I have a few trans friends and I support trans people, so...
People love their tokens. I've done an entire video on moral licensing and why this is a terrible defense, but in summary, you'll always be able to find trans people to back up your cis-sexist views.
God, you were just literally wanting to attack everybody, don't you? Like, get over it.
Always be able to find gay people who spout anti-gay rhetoric. You can even find people of color who openly advocate racist policy.
Race traitors, I think they're called.
That doesn't make you right. Having a trans friend doesn't mean you're suddenly an expert on trans issues.
And neither are you.
People often internalize negative ideas about their own identities and regurgitate them with passion. I've met gay men who told me that their homosexuality was a sin and that their punishment was to be celibate for their entire lives.
Darling, quick, back in the closet. Okay.
Yeah, they exist. Those are usually gay Catholics or gay Christians or people who are just uncomfortable with their own sexuality and they don't accept it. So this is an individual thing and they need to get over it. You can't change everybody and you can't help everybody. Riley, it sounds like you're just trying so desperately hard to help everyone around you and you don't want anybody else to shame other people, you know, especially the trans community, and make them feel bad. And I'm sorry, that's not the way the world works.
Even still, they'd probably go to hell. Obviously, that would be anti-gay for any straight person to say, and it's also not okay for gay people to advocate that.
Oh, so now you're shaming gay people. You are so homophobic right now and almost transphobic.
In the same way, if trans people are saying cis-sexist garbage, it's still cis-sexist garbage.
That sounds very misogynistic and transphobic, but hey, it's okay when you do it, right, Riley?
And look, there are cis people who are on my side as well, so if you think it's okay to point to your token trans friend, then I can just point to my token cis friend.
To run, we wanted to fall together.
Number 5, I'm triggered by penises because of past sexual trauma. That's completely understandable. I've never said that anyone should have to have sex with someone with a penis if they don't want to.
And yet you're trying to convince women to switch over to your side or date a trans woman who is technically a man and has a penis. You will never get with them, Riley. Move on.
If intimacy with someone who has a penis is triggering for you, I would never suggest that you have to do that.
Why are you assuming that men can't be triggered by pussy?
Take your time to heal and work through your trauma at your own pace. Just be aware that the majority of people making the I could never date someone with a penis argument are not doing so because of trauma or triggers.
Yeah, and that's okay.
So that is all of the typical responses I could think of. The first 2 responses in particular come from TERF, radfem, and gender-critical ideologies, which are all proudly anti-trans.
Yeah, and they have that right to be.
Even if you don't consider yourself a part of those movements, you're siding with them when you use their argument.
Did you just say what I think you said? So let me get this straight. If you are using TERF arguments to back up your argument, that makes you a TERF? So if you, a feminist, are using communism as a means to explain your ideology, does that make you a communist?
Their entire platform is cis-sexist, and their arguments reflect that. So even if you say you believe trans women are women, it doesn't do a whole lot of good if you're still completely siding with folks who don't believe that trans women are women.
We don't fit in a box, Riley. You can't just have a one-directional argument. For fuck's sakes, why do you think nobody likes you?
And the last thing I want to say about this is that if you'd rather not have sex with a woman who has a penis, maybe just don't make such a huge deal of it.
You're the only one who's making a huge deal about it! God damn it! God damn it!
Trans women are often afraid of not being found attractive or desirable after coming out, and you're not helping. If you really want to be an ally to trans people, you could just not talk about it.
But you were constantly talking about it!
And by that, I'm not trying to censor you, okay? So don't pretend this is censorship.
Oh yeah, the whole censorship bullshit. You're not trying to censor us, you're trying to control who we like to fuck.
You have the freedom to say whatever you want. I'm just asking you to consider if it's necessary to say those things when they reflect harmful or violent rhetoric.
But here's the thing, Riley. Life is not perfect. You will get both positive attributes about it and you will get negative attributes about it. Sometimes you will get people who, wait for it, disagree with you. You will also get some people who just don't like you. Sometimes you just don't rub each other the right way, unless it's stroking it. No, I'm just joking, but the problem is that you are assuming that everything around you has to be 100% positive. That is an unrealistic, and you live in a fantasy land.
Because if you have an opinion that you know is only going to make people feel bad about themselves, why constantly share it with the world?
Oh, I know. If you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. You know what? Sometimes people need to be offended. Sometimes people need to know that people don't like you or disagree with you to make you, trigger you into defending yourself. It's actually somewhat of a coping mechanism for you to actually stand on your own 2 feet. Offense is taken, not given.
It's fine to not find people attractive, but it's mean to constantly yell about how unattractive you find those people, especially when those people are oppressed.
Oppressed? How are they oppressed? You just leave that open with no details in that.
Come and see the violence inherent in the system! Help! Help! I'm being repressed! Bloody peasant! Oh.
Another imperfect analogy, it'd be like if you weren't attracted to girls with short hair. That would be fine, but you probably wouldn't write articles and make videos defending why it's okay for you to not like girls with short hair.
And yet we have all these beauty magazines with 10 hot tips in getting your man, or 7 ways to make your vulva bigger. Mostly women buying this shit and they're reading this shit.
You could do that, but sometimes it's just best to be polite.
And we're trying to be polite, but it's getting very difficult to be polite with fucking communists, with fascists, with people who are trying to dictate who we can and cannot fuck.
And that is everything I have to say on that topic. This video is a part of my Feminism with Riley series that I'm doing in collaboration with Everyday Feminism, a website dedicated to helping you stand up to and break down everyday oppression.
Roll credits. Oh, Riley. You are like the new form of Christians, the radical Christians out there who are just they don't understand that there is a diverse amount of people out there, and you are one of them. Oh my God, you need to stop. So to all the straight women out there, if you like dick, stick with dick. And to all the gay guys who like dick, suck as much as you want.
Yes!
For all the lesbos out there, you know you like pussy, and I have no problem with you having that sexual preference into that genitalia. Riley here is so homophobic that he is trying to construct how lesbians should love. Like, this is utterly ridiculous. So I'm done. There you go, guys. I'll have another video out here pretty quick, so thanks a lot for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye, guys.